Welcome back to Modern Horror Stories podcast with Jamie, Dave, and Alex. Yesterday we discussed Terrifier 2. Today we're going to tell you how we would make that movie better. As always, kudos to the people who did make this movie. We haven't made a movie. Maybe one day we will, but it's very difficult. And we always take our hats off to the people, the creators involved. However, um, with all due respect, we're going to try to make it better. And if you haven't seen the film, go and see it because there's bound to be spoilers in this. So, who'd like to go first?
Yeah, I will. And I'm going to explain why there are loads and loads and loads of things that can be fixed about this movie, but I will do none of them. So I don't think this is a perfect film. Don't get me wrong. I gave it 7.5. I really, really like this film. And part of the reason I like it is because it's such a mess. Nothing really fits together. Um, but that doesn't bother me at all. I think if I were to try and make this film sort of more streamlined and more sort of narratively ordinary, I'd end up being bored by it. So I'm not going to change anything about it. Um, because even though it's not a perfect film, it is the film that it is, and I think it's all the better for that. Um, so yes, I mean there are lines of dialogue in there that I might change, but ultimately some of them gave me a good laugh when I was watching it. So I'm not that bothered about it. I'd happily watch that film again and enjoy it for all its faults. And I think, yeah, if I tried to sort of mess around with it, it would be probably a much more boring film. So I'm going to let you guys um, take the lead on this one and see if you can make it a better film for me.
I'll try, although I'm going to follow pretty much the same formula for you because the first thing I'm going to say is don't try to make it make sense. For me, it doesn't really make sense, and I've got a feeling I'm worried in the third one they're going to try. I hope they don't because I leave. I mean, even if they leave big gaps for interpretation, I'll be happy with that. But if they try to join the dots with everything, I think it could be a huge mistake. So that's my number one thing. My number two thing again is going to be heresy. I said it for last time as well for the first one. I would like 10% less Art the Clown. And I know he is the selling point. He is the film, but he's there so much, and I just feel like the film was very, very long. It was 2 hours, 15, 20 minutes, I think. And I think it could have been slightly shorter. Um, I mean, Art the Clown is great, but just maybe just for the balance of the film, make us want him a bit more. So that you're thinking, I can't wait for Art the Clown to come back. But you never have that feeling because he's always there. He's always killing. Um, and the third thing is I'm not keen on dream sequences. And I hope they don't try to use dream sequences too much.
To be fair,
To
we did establish yesterday that sometimes you do like dream sequences.
Well, apart from the whole Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, which is just one big bunch of dream sequences, apart from that, I'm
Because
not keen
I
on them.
remember when I was about 15 having a conversation with my friends, and I said, "Oh, I don't like things with time travel in them." And then they went, "You watch Doctor Who?" And I just had to back down because there's, yeah,
But let's
I
just
mean,
let's just call this the Doctor Who paradox. And
brilliant.
my Doctor Who paradox is dream sequences. In that I don't like them except when I do. So they're my three things. Again, I'm not because it's not my genre as such. It's not something I would urge filmmakers to do because I'm sure they watch this podcast. Like I say, if you don't make heavy metal music, you probably shouldn't produce a heavy metal album. So they're my three things with reservations.
So I, sorry, sorry to the editor.
He can cut it out.
Yeah. What if he doesn't?
Oh, don't worry, Jamie. You can have a good shout at him.
Yeah.
Really let him have it.
All right. Yeah, I feel sorry for him now. Um, what was I going to say? So I, unfortunately, I wanted it to make sense. I think because the whole first, I don't know, three quarters of the film did make sense. It was, we were watching a teenager get ready for Halloween, spooky stuff was happening, people were getting murdered, and it was, it felt like a very sort of real scenario. There was some sort of ghostliness with the clowns appearing and disappearing in the school corridor, but beyond that, it was felt everything felt very real and very grounded and very linear. And um, the dream within that, I felt I could accept that as part of the thing. She has having some kind of premonition or omen, and that all felt fine. And then suddenly we went into sort of some random fantasy, and I didn't feel that attached to the film I had been watching up until that point, and it just felt very, well, like I said, random. And but simultaneously, I felt like throughout the film that you can feel they're trying to sow the seeds of this lore. There's this notebook from the dad. What happened to the dad? And is art the dad? And then there's a ride called the Terrifier, and like there's all these things, and it feels like they're crowbarring in information that is going to be important in the third or the fourth film. And I don't know. It just felt I felt like either it would be nice within this film to resolve some of the seeds they were sowing, or just don't sow those seeds and let us see this film about this family and couple of families being completely destroyed by Art the Clown. And I think that would have been okay without the all of the. I don't think we needed as much supernaturalness, or at least not as random the supernaturalness. I mean, it's one thing for art to come back to life after being killed as a supernatural element, but then the whole dream sequence and then the whole Sienna dying and then coming back to life and all of that, I just found I really switched off when it got to all of that.
So you really want it to make sense?
I want it to choose whether it wants to make sense or not make sense.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. Yeah, I can understand that. I think for me, almost any other film, I would argue I want it to make sense. And this is one of the few films that I would really desperately rather it didn't. I really, really don't want this film to make sense. I don't want the third one to make anything make sense. Partly because I'm not sure it can at this point. There's so much stuff in there. I'm not even sure everything can be tied up properly. All those kind of natural and supernatural elements, I don't know whether they can fit together at this point. So I'd rather the series carried on doing it. As I mentioned yesterday, Mamma Mia. The fact that the second one leans harder into the ridiculousness. And I'd rather they just kept along with that whole Mamma Mia thing.
They've really anchored Art the Clown to this family as well, haven't they?
Mm.
Because of all those the premonitions of the father who died and all the drawings. So I'm not sure if that was a good choice. We'll
Yeah,
find
also,
out, I guess.
I guess we'll find out, but it makes it harder to make sense of the first film. Like, what was that all about?
Mm,
What did that have to do with?
exactly.
Yes, that's true.
Mm.
Well, I
Yeah,
suppose we'll have to find out on Terrifier 3.
yeah.
So if you can think of things that improve Terrifier, put them in the comments below. Or maybe you think we've ruined a masterpiece. In which case, again, tell us below. Join us next week when we will be talking about, hopefully, Terrifier 3. I tell you what, I wouldn't mind a cameo in Terrifier 4.